Hello, welcome to this brief introduction for the MySID training for bursars, clerks and finance officers. Sorry I can't be with you today, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the first series of slides and then Teresa will pick up where I finish. So if we start with the brief program overview, very simply today all we're going to be looking at is how to understand how the MySID system is integrated with the school improvement planning and then how we monitor grant spend through the system. To give you an understanding of how the financial monitoring section of MySID works and to make sure you've got sufficient support to enable you to complete that job. So in terms of the purpose of MySID then, MySID is a shortened form of My School Improvement Dashboard. So basically what we've tried to do in the software is create a system that takes you through the full cycle of school improvement planning activity, from the self-evaluation, where schools look at what the current data is showing them in terms of pupil performance, and that then feeds into the priorities that are built into the school development plan. And these priorities may be up to 15 priorities over a 3-year period. To do that, we've then got the school activity planning section, which says, well, okay, we've said that we've got some key priorities here. So, for example, perhaps improving the performance of pupils in Key Stage 2 literacy. What activities are we going to complete in school to try and address those challenges? So perhaps what CPD does staff require to support improved outcomes? What work are we going to do in school to help staff to develop their practice to improve pupil outcomes? The next stage then, once those activities have been planned, using the grant spends, the EIG and the PDG grants, the role of the finance officer bursar will be to monitor the finance or activity financial plan to ensure that the activities have all been effectively planned through. And then the head teacher will review impact and the priorities of the various activities. Okay, so where does the MySID system link with other systems? Well, you'll be aware that currently all of the CPD offers that are provided by EAS are advertised for booking, and the bookings are handled through CPD Online. To access those bookings through MySID, a head teacher can browse services that are on offer and then have a look at the range of activities that EAS offers, search them, book them, and then they will appear in the school activity plan in MySID. But equally, if the school has just accessed CPD Online and just gone straight there and booked the courses in CPD Online, those courses will appear in the school activity plan in MySID as well. So there's two ways that process can be done. In terms of the access that we provide for the finance officers and bursars as a default, when you get access to the system with an account, you will have access to the budget profiler and the financial monitoring element of the system. Now, it might be, depending on the school in which you work, that the head teacher will provide you with their login details so that you have access to the full functionality and the full suite of functions in MySID. But as a finance officer, the sections we provide you by default with access to are the budget profiler and the financial monitoring part of the system. So what does the budget profiler look like? Well, it looks like this. You'll have the names of the various grants. Now in the system you will have the EIG and PDG will appear, and a no cost centre will appear as grants. This year they won't be locked, the EIG and PDG, because we haven't input the data already. So you can go in now and you can edit and change this data so it shows the correct information and the information that's been provided to Geraint by Geraint Willington to all schools. So you'll know what those funding levels are, and you can simply adjust them as is appropriate in the system. The no cost centre will still appear fixed, because obviously that's for activities that don't carry a financial cost, and we can still edit the interface to add additional grants should the head teacher wish to. So that's the budget profiler section. So that's basically where we set our budgets that we're then going to monitor and choose to and elect to choose in order to get our activities completed. Now, in terms of the head teacher will be responsible for completing the school development plan and the school activity plan section. And in the school activity plan section, the head will identify what activities are going to be used to support priorities, and then select a funding source for the activities. Now, at the start of last year, it wasn't possible to split one activity across several budgets, but it is now. So on the school activity plan, you can now allocate a certain proportion of funding from different grants. So, for example, if we were funding a TA from the EIG and the PDG and the school core budget, then we could put the relative allocations in these boxes, and that would then feed through the system into the financial monitoring part of the system. Okay, without the requirement to have three separate items detailing the budgets separately. So that's how the head will allocate those budgets to go into the system. In terms of then the financial monitoring sheet, the school activity plan, when an activity is complete, looks like this. Okay, and what will happen is the head will have allocated the priority, a description of the activity that's going to be completed, a timescale during which it's going to be completed, how it's going to be evaluated, the costs and the funding sources from which that activity has been allocated. Each activity in the school activity plan will be allocated a unique identification number, which will then feed through into the financial monitoring part of the system. So when we go into the financial monitoring part of the system, those activities will be pulled through. And what Teresa is now going to do is take you through the second part of the session, where she looks in more detail at the financial monitoring part of the system.